Hi, I'm Shambler and welcome to Rotating for Arcane Dimensions with Trenchbroom. Arcane Dimensions includes the hip rotate functionality. Now you'd think with the modern tools being as good as they are that getting a rotating object would be as simple as converting it into a, func rotate, setting a point it rotates around and a speed and an endpoint, but no, it's not. You need your object to rotate, you need a trigger to target a func rotate door or func rotate entity that targets an object rotate that itself targets an info rotate as the axis. You also need a func move wall placed inside the door if you want it to be solid as it's rotating. So I'm going to show you how to do that. First thing to do, this is mentioned in the in some of the information in the Trenchbroom properties here, but it's not obvious how it works. It tells you how to do a fan for it, but actually getting the door to work is a little bit different to that. So firstly, you take your door, you don't create a func door, you create a rotate object, and you give it a target name of, just give it door 1. And you also need to set a point for it to pivot around, so you target door 1 pivot. So the pivot is this thing here, the info rotate, and you put that along the axis you want the door to rotate around. So if I move that into place, like that, so you usually have to be embedded inside this axis here, and I might as well put it roughly centrally up there. So this door, when it rotates, will target this as the pivot point for it to rotate around. So if you wanted it to open kind of more vertically, you could put it at the bottom or the top, which is how you do a bridge. Then you have the kind of controller, which is the func rotate door, and that has got a target door 1. And in the fan tutorial, recommends you put it in the same place and hide the info rotate. So not sure that's necessary, but might as well do that. And then you have a trigger, and instead of this controlling the door, it controls the func rotate door. So give that a name itself, door 1 rotate. And because this isn't a normal door, I don't think it works if you just butt up against it. You need an actual trigger to trigger it off. So that targets door 1 rotate. Now you have to do two things with this func rotate door. You have to set the speed of it, and counterintuitively compared to the normal speed of a door, which is actually how quickly it moves, this is not the speed, it's the time taken to reach its endpoint. So I usually find if you have it opening to a point that's 90 or 135 degrees, sort of 2 seconds seemed kind of good for that. You can have it quicker or slower depending. And you've got to set the angle that it will go to. So if you're opening around this axis here, it will be 0. Then it's all a bit guesswork here where it goes. So that is going the wrong way. 0, 45, 0, -135. There we go, that should be right. So I think it's counterclockwise, looking for above, is a negative angle in the center of the tree, and clockwise would be, you're going this way, it would be a positive angle. So I'm just going to test that in game. First thing to do whenever you load AD is bind a key and turn footsteps off, because they're bloody annoying. So let's test this. That works. Bit judgery, but that is the way hip rotate works. So I guessed the angle right. If you wanted to go inwards, you set it to like a positive number. And I've got this door, so it goes finishes at an angle, so it's not just 90 degrees, which looks a bit more natural. However, it's not solid. Rotate object is not solid. So to make a solid object in a solid door, you need to put in func move walls. So I'll just making these a little bit bigger so you can see what's going on here. These nestle inside the inside the rotate object, and they don't rotate along with the rotate object. They orbit around the pivot point, so they maintain their orientation, but they will follow in a curve like that. They'll track the rotate object. The problem with this is if you just put in, like, say, a series of, you'd think like the minimum you can do is like 3 bars like that, and that will seem solid to the player. Unfortunately, if the door opens at an angle, they'll be very, if I kind of move these down, they'll end up pretty serrated, and the player tries to move along this door, it will feel very rough and juddery. So a way I found to do it is a bit more expensive in terms of brushwork, but it will work better for doors that open at a natural angle. So you create an octagonal brush like this, and you've got to set it, create brush under the func move wall, so it's a wall but it'll move, it'll be able to move along, and you give it the same target name as the door one. So the rotate will target this. It doesn't, you don't seem to need to specify the pivot point for this. It will go along with the rotate object. Then just copy or duplicate this and overlap these brushes, so that when these move around, they will at 45 degrees they will keep overlapping, and there'll be a tiny gap because it's not a perfect octagon, but it will be a lot smoother. So select all of these. You can, there is a flag for these. It's not actually in this here, but there's a visible flag. If you want to see them in game, you can text them, put them as a visible flag, and be able to see where they end up to get them smooth. So I'm going to group these and move them with the door. There's one that's a rogue there. And again, compile this, and this hopefully should work. So test this now, and it pushes me out the way. It actually pushed me into a clip brush, so I'll reload that. And that will now be a solid door. If you move against it, it's a bit lumpy, but it's much better than just a load of square brushes. Final thing to do is to avoid the player getting squashed too readily by the door, and particularly the doors with a weight -1 will only open once. You put a clip brush in place here, so that means if the player opens it, they're more likely just going to get pushed out of the way and not get squashed in this area here. And obviously this can all be tinkered to suit your needs. You can have more or less octagons. If you're opening it at 90 degrees, you can just do it with square kind of rods here. And obviously if you're doing a drawbridge, this whole thing would be opening in a different plane, but the functionality would be the same. So there you go. Good luck. Go out there and rotate.